Hi guys, as we get closer and closer to Jesus' return to come and snatch his bride away, I thought I have to share something with you guys that kind of like just dawned on me as I was listening to the Sword of God channel, the whole timeline with the four blood moons. Charles was talking about this third day that stood still symbolically, like a type and a shadow, for such a long period of time. And it made me think about maybe there are time cycles, because we live in, like, they say 4 dimensions, right? So we've got the 2D is in 2D drawing, then 3D drawing, and then they say that the fourth dimension is like time. Well, I don't think we fully understand the time dimension, because the only time dimension we understand is you're born, you live, you die. It's almost like a 2D timeline. But from what I'm hearing from Charles, as he's talking about types and shadows of timelines, I'm thinking these are other dimensions, man. I'm thinking that there is a timeline that God sets in I won't say in heaven, because I don't believe there is time in heaven, but it's almost like it's in the heavenlies, if I can put it that way. And it connects heaven to earth. It's almost like an umbilical cord. So a timeline that almost maybe it runs vertical. So we get our normal timeline that runs parallel, where you're born, you live, you die, and then there's this vertical timeline which plugs heaven into earth like an umbilical cord. That's the way I kind of best picture it. And a way to understand this is that throughout history, we've hardly had any technology improvements, so to speak, until a particular year, and then the thing just took off and skyrocketed. All the amount of technology we've gained and the knowledge we've gained, in computers and in science and etc., it just took off exponentially. I'm thinking that that's because something didn't change on this timeline, something changed on that timeline. The vertical timeline. It was time in heaven for something to change on earth, and it did. It changed on earth. So with that mindset, I've been listening to Charles, and he talks about how this third day just kept on repeating and repeating and repeating. And if you don't know the context of what I'm speaking about, please listen to his teaching. I'll put a link in the description, guys. You have to hear it for yourself. Yeah. And he says all this will culminate in the great 8th day, okay, which is meant to be this year. Now Charles says it's September. Okay, I'm not sure of the exact month. I think it's this year. Okay, I don't know if I agree with Charles on it being September. I'd want to also look at it under the lens of Dr. Barry Orr, where he starts his timing at a particular time in the year, So if you could take a bit of what Charles says, maybe a bit of what Barry says, right, and understand this vertical timeline as well as the horizontal timeline, everything is culminating on the great 8th day, which I really feel is this year. And I think it's got something to do with Rosh Hashanah, the true Rosh Hashanah date. I might be wrong, it might be slightly before that. And then I was listening to another end times guy speaking about how we need a transition period from the time that the rapture takes place to the time when everyone turns to the Antichrist for solutions and answers. He was saying that it can't just happen suddenly. So the tribulation can't start suddenly at the rapture. It has to have a transition, because people are going to be in such confusion, and people will be running around and not knowing what's going on. Was it the rapture? Was it aliens that took them? And it'll take some time for that panic to settle down and for a leader to arise, the Antichrist to arise, and for people to look to him for answers. So if that's the case and the scenario, it really looks like this year, towards the end of this year, is really heating up, guys. But another thing we need to, I think, be aware of is this vertical timeline. We need to find out more about that. Because when Joshua, when he was fighting, I mean, I was busy reading the story here in the Bible, when Joshua was fighting for Canaan, I think it was Canaan. That story absolutely fascinates me. I was just reading it here on my tablet. I've got my tablet over here. I like the way God calls them the mighty men of valor. Lovely. And the Lord said to Joshua, do not fear. This is verse 8. So it's chapter 10, Joshua chapter 10, verse 8. And the Lord said to Joshua, do not fear them, for I've delivered them into your hands. Not a man of them shall stand before you. It's amazing. I just get goosies just thinking about this. Anyway, so Israel, it goes on, I'm just paraphrasing here, and Israel ends up fighting them, okay? And the army that was fighting Israel fled before Israel. I'm going to pick up now from verse 11, and it says here, and it happened as they fled before Israel and were on the descent of Beth Horon, that the Lord cast down large hailstones from heaven on them as far as Ezekiah, and they died. Okay, and it says here, listen to this: there were more who died from the hailstones than the children of Israel killed with the sword. Anything man can do, God can do better. We should change the name of that song. Anything man can do, God can do better. God can do anything better than you. Anyway, so yeah. So that made me think of what could be happening pretty soon with Israel now, with nations coming against Israel. And I think they're going to be given a big hiding, but I think God will come through for them. And he might just use these hailstones again. That's what I was thinking. But what made me look at this Joshua chapter 10 is I was trying to look into this vertical timeline. And it speaks about here in verse 13 that... I'll just read it. I'll read from verse 12. Okay, it says, then Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, sun, stand still over Gibeon, and moon in the valley of Ajalon. Okay? And verse 13, so the sun stood still and the moon stopped, till the people had revenge upon their enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and did not hasten to go down for about a whole day. So when it comes to look at horizontal timelines, I feel that this speaks about the horizontal timeline being affected, where the sun stood still and the moon stood still. Okay, but there's also a way time can stop or slow down on the vertical timeline, and that is what I was referring to when all man's technology achievements have only just happened in the history of time recently, and all at once. Whereas before that, nothing happened. So I think we have to pay attention to this vertical timeline, pay attention to the horizontal timeline, and I feel that there's some connection between the horizontal and the vertical happening on this great 8th day. That's this year, guys. That's this year. So I hope you got something out of this. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited about this year. I mean, I've made plans that go beyond this year. But I'm thinking to myself, I don't even think I will see those plans come true. I don't even think that we will be here very much longer, guys. I'm getting excited. There's something in my spirit. And I don't know if this is happening to you, so just tell me if this is happening to you, but it feels like time is standing still right now. It's kind of like if you're watching an action movie, okay, and you see the guys like fighting, doing karate or kung fu or whatever, and you see them go very fast on the video, and then all of a sudden the video slows down to slow motion, and you see a punch come in and hits the guy on the chin, and you see his head flick back, and you can see sweat and blood flying off, all in slow motion. It's almost like our time has been going extremely fast. So you've seen all the action, and that punch has come in now, and everything's just like slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. Almost like watching a kettle boil. Now, I don't know if that's just because of my personal circumstance where I've sold my house and I'm just waiting for the sale to go through. I don't know whether it's that, or I don't know whether it's just something in my spirit that says, hang on, time seems to be going like in slow motion now. I don't know if that's happening with anyone else, if it's just me, but it really feels like it's going very slow now. Whereas in the past, time used to fly by. So, I don't know, I'll just put it out there, see what you guys say. Anyway, great hooking up, and please listen to Charles's talk. I'll put the link in the description, and I'll see you next time. Or, I will see you in the clouds. Cheers, bye.